edge of a late planted soybean field here, and what we wanted to talk about today was some of these late season insects that we're getting, especially soybean aphids, and also disease. Now, if you have late planted soybeans, you may say, oh, I'm just going to kind of throw in the towel. But the way I look at the whole thing is, even late planted beans on our farm, we're able to get 35, 40 bushels a lot of times, and if your fall bean price is even $9, it's still pretty good money.
Well, you can still make money on soybeans, even if you don't have the top yields around. But if you want to have a disaster in your field, just plan for a disaster and say, you know what, I can't spend any more money out here. That's the wrong way to look at it. You really need to look at the return on investment, no matter if you're in a high-yielding situation or a low-yielding situation, before you make your decision. For example, you could be spraying for soybean aphids for like $4 an acre and say, well, man, I can't afford that. I don't have huge yield potential. You can't afford not to do it. If you've only got, say, 20 to 30 bushel yield potential, to say, no, I can't do it. I'm just going to give up half of that yield because I don't want to spend $4. Are you kidding? You got to run the numbers on this, even in a lower yielding situation.
That's the whole thing, and that's why they have economic thresholds. Now, one of the things that we've talked a lot about with soybean aphids is the threshold is going to vary depending on what your crop is worth and what you're going to spend in terms of the insecticide, but also how many bushels of potential you actually have out there. So certainly, if you only have 30 bushel yield potential and the soybean price is $4 and insecticide is expensive, it's a little different, and you're going to have to maybe spray when you have more aphids out in the field. But when we have $8 or $9 soybeans, you've still got 30 or 40 bushel potential like this field does right here, and you say, I can spray for $4 an acre. You look at what the threshold is according to South Dakota State. In the research they've done, you're probably looking at 10, 15 aphids per plant at the R2, R3 stage. Now, once you start getting up to R4 or R5, that number is going to grow, and maybe now you need 100 aphids per plant, or maybe 150, something like that. You can look up their threshold information online.
I'm not worried as much about the aphids and the life they're going to suck out, literally suck out of your plants. What I'm worried about is all those wounds. Think about it. When an aphid pierces into a leaf and starts sucking out the juice, he's opening up that leaf for disease, and we're seeing lots of late season diseases in soybean fields again this year.
But the whole problem is, if you're going to control those diseases, you've got to spray before you see the disease. So how do you do it?
Well, that's easy. That's really easy. Now, you want to throw a hurdle out there and say, wait a minute, you got to be out there ahead. That's fine, because I know exactly when that soybean plant is going to get wounded. So why not spray your fungicide right with your soybean aphid spray? That makes the most sense in the world to me. Now, okay, I had a hailstorm come through last night. A lot of my leaves got damaged, but not totally destroyed. Great. Get right out there, spray a fungicide as soon as...
But at least
you know what the situation is. Get out there and spray a fungicide right away to protect that plant from disease that's going to come in. With soybean aphids, if I'm starting to see some aphids out in the field, and I reach a level where I say, you know what, economically I need to get spraying those aphids, throw some fungicide in too. What we're doing on our farm a lot of times is just putting on a half rate of fungicide. It only costs about $5 or $6, less than a bushel of beans, and now you've got protection for all those wounds that are created.
Yeah, the way I look at it is, okay, yeah, it may be early August, and you may say, well, it's kind of late to do all this stuff. It really isn't. A lot of what happens in terms of yield in the soybean plant occurs in August and early September, depending on your area of the country. So get something done now. The way I look at it on our farm, if I'm going to spend $5 on fungicide and $4 or $5 on insecticide, I basically have the value of 1 bushel of beans. Do you really think you're not going to gain at least a bushel of beans, killing all the insects and stopping most all the diseases? I think you are in most cases, but again, look at the economics.
Well, one of the other things you'll have to look at is the economics of spraying weeds, and killing this one always pays. We'll show you why coming up next.